pencil crayons, and they color it. That's cool, I don't care. Notice I've done both here. I color-coded that rectangle, the green one right there, the pink one right there, the yellow one right there, and then of course I remembered that I can only see half of it, so I have to double it to get 192. Or I can do the formula. You can see that I labeled each side L, W, or H. And then I just did the formula straight off my sheet, putting in the L, W, and H's from where they were. This one I've already explained. The yellow work is the bottom prism, and then I added the 4 green squares because it's the exact same shape as this, except there's 4 new pieces. Cool? Have a look at that for a moment. Everyone is good. This has been recorded. You can check it on YouTube if you want. All my work is there. You'll see it all and you'll hear everything I just said. And that is all I have done right now. I'll be doing this right now. Please notice again, I have color-coded. The only weird one here is finding this side, and I showed you how I did it right there. Which do you people prefer? The color coding? Does that work for you? So I can go ahead and keep with that? All right. You will notice, though, that before I do any math, I set it up, right? How many of those yellow rectangles are there going to be? 2, because there's one in the front, one in the back. How many of those blue rectangles are there going to be? 2. There's one in the front, one in the back. How many of those green rectangles is there going to be? 2. How many of those purple triangles is there going to be? 2. And then the only thing left is the bottom. How many of those bottom rectangles are there going to be? How many? Just 1. So now I've got it all set up, so now all I got to do is do the math. The yellow one is 5 by 15. That's the yellow one. And I know there's 2 of them. So that's 150. The blue one is 2 by 15, and I know there's 2 of them. So that's 60. The green one is 8 by 2, and there's 2 of them. So that's 32. The purple triangle. There's 2 triangles, right? 5, 5. So I have this triangle, 5 and 5 with a 90 degree there. Well, isn't the other one just going to be 5 and 5? So doesn't that just make a square that's 5 by 5? So even though there's 2 of them, if I was doing the math, I would go 5 times 5 divided by 2 times 2. That's the purple one, except the 2's cancel. So that's 25, right? And then the bottom, which I used red ink for because I couldn't highlight it, is 15 by 8, which is 120. Then what do I do with all those numbers? What do I do? Just add it up. 150 and 120 is 270, 330, 362, 387 inches squared. Now somebody has already asked me, if you forget that inches squared and you've done all this work right, am I docking you? Is it 0? Is it 4 out of 4? If you forget that area is inches squared? Because it makes a difference on that paint question when we are converting, doesn't it? Can I give you 4 out of 4 for that question, if you forget the inches squared? Can I give you 3.5 out of 4? Yeah. Everybody understand? Okay. The bell's going to ring in 4 minutes, which is enough time for me to do this question if you want to see it. Yeah? Okay. This is the way I would do this question. If none of that was there, don't I just have this prism? Right? Does everybody understand what I've done? So the only thing that's missing is that rectangle, right? How many of them are there? There's one at the back, and then there's this one at the front, right? Those two rectangles are gone. But the roof is still there, right? And the side is still there, isn't it? So if I do this question like this, and then I subtract them, am I in business? Does everybody understand what I did? It's way shorter, but I have to see what's happening. If you don't see what's happening, then you probably want to cut this here, do this one, and then do your subtraction. It's up to you. I, personally, would do this. L, W, and H is 4, because it's 2 and 2. And I would go 6 times 4 plus 6 times 22 plus 4 times 22. And I would multiply all that by 2. And then I would subtract these two triangles, or rectangles, which are 2 of 11 by 2. Because this is 2 and this is 11. And those two green rectangles aren't there, are they? Everybody understand? So I would do that. And I would get 24 plus 6 times that is 132 plus 88 times 2, that's 68, that's 220, that's 244 times 2 is 488 minus 44 is 444. That's the way I would do that one. And then the bell is about to ring. To do the cylinder, you have a formula for that. It's right in your notes and on your sheet. 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And this question, we'll go over it later when you've had a chance to actually do it. Okay, when you come back from the break, we'll move on to volume. There's 2 more questions there you can do when it's work time. All right? I have to go help a computer person or a person with their computer.
Who took?
It's shorter than you. That shit is so hard to fucking.
volume. Man, it sucks being the person who knows how to do everything. Because then everybody comes to you for their problems. You don't get time to eat your lunch. It is time for some notes, so you should probably be in your own A desk. Page 215, please. All right. No. I'll let you guys have some time with it. You just got the answer? I'll check it in a sec. All right. Surface area is the outside, right? All the exposed surfaces of the outside. This surface right here only has two dimensions, right? It's got a length and it's got a width. Everybody agrees, right? Volume is what's inside. Inside this prism, how many dimensions does it have? Length, width, and a third dimension. We usually call it depth, but it could be height, whatever you want to call it. Everybody with me? So the first thing we have to remember is that volume is 3 dimensions. So we measure it in units cubed, because there's 3 dimensions, a length, a width, and a height. Everybody good? Now, it's very, very easy to figure out volume of everything. In reality, this piece of paper has how many dimensions? In reality. You can see that it's got 2, but doesn't it have a third? Isn't there some very small height to this paper? Because if it didn't have a third dimension, if I stacked 500 pieces of paper on each other, there would be no stack, would there? So it has something, agreed? So, right now, this paper has 2 dimensions that you can easily see, right? Length and a width, yeah? Now, if I take this one piece of paper and I stack it 500 pieces of paper high, what do I get? I get that height, right? This, single rectangle. This, a rectangular prism. Does everybody understand? Now, you're smart young people. This has an area of length and width, right? But its height is too small to measure, agreed? But if I say this piece of paper is 11 by 8, this piece of paper that you can see is 88. Everyone agrees, because length times width? And it is 1 piece of paper thick, yes? So in the world, in the universe, it takes up 88 length and width and 1 piece of paper thick, yes? So now, how much space in the universe does this take up? Is it still 88? But now how thick is it? 500, I said, right? Because this distance is 500 pieces of paper. Everybody cool? Now, if something happens in once in math, how often does it happen? Is 2 plus 2 4? How do you know that? None of you can explain why 2 plus 2 is 4. You're in the 10th grade. Why is 2 plus 2 4? Wow. Okay. I need to think this through better. Let's try this. How many is that? How many is that? How many is that? Why? You're just counting, yes? Okay. So if 2 plus 2 is 4, what's 2 plus 3? 5, because you start with 2, then you have 3, then you put them together. Everybody with me? So now, if you can do 2 plus 2, can you do all the adding in the universe? Can you add any two numbers? Yes, because if it works once in math, it always works. So in this example, if I start with a two-dimensional shape, a rectangle, and I repeat it over and over and over again, what do I get? Again, we'll go slower. What shape is this? How many dimensions does it have? How many dimensions does a rectangle have? 2. If I repeat that rectangle over and over and over again, what do I have? A rectangular prism. So, if I know this area is 88, and I repeat it this many times, do I know how much space this object takes up in the universe? Yes. So if that works for a rectangular prism, will it work for every other prism? Because it worked once for one kind of prism, will it work for every kind of prism? 2 plus 2 is because 2 and 2 together makes 4. What's 2 plus 3? 2 and 3 together make 5. So, if it works for one prism, will it work for all the prisms? Yes. So the first thing we are going to talk about is the volume of a prism. Now, we already know that a prism is just a 2D shape that repeats, right? That 2D shape always has an area. Might be length times width, might be base times height divided by 2, might be pi r squared. It always has an area, yes? So I start with a 2D shape that will always give me an area. Now, that 2D shape that we start a prism from, what do we call that? We talked about it just last block. What do you call the shape that starts a prism? The base. So if I know the area of the base, and the base repeats again and again, so this area is 88, right? Times how many pieces of paper? No, just this one. 1, right? So this has a volume of 88 times 1, yeah? Now what's its volume? 88 times. Now what's its volume? And so on and so on and so on, up to what? 500. Everybody with me? So if I know the area of the base, and I keep adding on more and more bases, I'm adding 1 base, then 2 bases, then 3 bases, then 4 bases. What's the math shortcut to adding over and over and over again? What do we do instead of adding? We do multiplying. So it's area of base plus area of base plus area of base. And that could go on forever, right? But we're lazy. We don't write that out. We use math. So it's the area of the base times the height. Because the height is how many times we repeat. Does everybody understand? Started with the 1 piece of paper, and I repeated it 500 times. Everybody cool? The same rules from surface area apply still. I start with the base, which is not the bottom, and I multiply it by the height, which is the way it repeats. The height is not necessarily up and down. It is the direction that the shape repeats. Is everybody cool? So, if I give you an example of a cylinder, right? This type of cylinder, when I go, I see you, right? Where is the height on this cylinder? Is it horizontal or vertical? This is the height because that circle repeats in that direction. Does everybody understand? Now, this works for that's supposed to be a highlighter. This works. That's supposed to be a highlighter. Now it won't turn off and fix. This works for every prism. The only thing that changes is what the base is. Does everybody understand? The base is any shape that repeats. Cool? Now I'm going to give you an example of this. Actually, I'm not. We're going to wait a second. So that's prisms. The other thing we talked about are pyramids. Now, you're intelligent young people. Is a pyramid bigger or smaller than its related prism? What do I mean by related? Well, if a prism starts from this square, it would go straight up. If a pyramid started from that same square, would it be bigger or smaller than the prism? Why? Yeah, because I don't have the top one. It shrinks. Everyone agrees, yes? Okay. Through numerous experiments, math guys, and ladies, I suppose, figured out that the volume of a pyramid is exactly the same as the related prism divided by 3. So if you can find the prism, and what is every prism? It's always the area of the base times the height. If it's the pyramid that goes with that same base, I just divide it by 3. On your sheets, it's written as 1/3 area of base times the height. Is everybody cool? So now I say go back to the previous 5 questions and do the volume of each one. So let's head back to our very first question, which was the cereal box. Does the cereal box have a shape that repeats? Yeah. What shape is it? Does it matter which rectangle I choose? No, because they all repeat, don't they? So, I'll do volume in a fun color. What color are you guys feeling today? In the color. All you gotta do is say a color. This isn't rocket science. I'm not testing you on it. You cannot fail saying a color right now. Pink. Great. Volume always equals area of base times the height. Right? Now, you can see I have 3 different rectangles here, yes? There's a green one, the yellow one, and the blue one. Any one of them can be the base, can't they? So what is the area of the green one? How would I find the area of that green rectangle? 40 by 24. And then what would the height be? I've used 40 and 24. What's the height then? This is the rectangle I am working with. The height is the direction that rectangle repeats. What direction does that green rectangle repeat? Where does that green rectangle appear again? At the back, right? So which number is the direction that that green rectangle repeats? 8. So I'd multiply that by 8 for the green rectangle, right? What if I chose the yellow rectangle? What would the yellow rectangle's area be? It would be 8 times 24, right? And what direction does the yellow rectangle repeat? Up and down, right? So that would be the 40. And what if I use the blue rectangle? What's its dimensions? 8 by 40. And what direction does the blue rectangle repeat? That way. So it would be 24. What do you notice about all three of those answers? What are they going to be? The same. Why? Same numbers. Does order of multiplying matter? Is 2 times 5 the same as 5 times 2? So this is really easy, right? Because order doesn't matter. So volume of a rectangle prism is just length times width times height. Who decides what is length and what is width and what is height? You do. So is there any way to do it wrong? Not really, because you're the one that chooses the numbers. Everybody good? Okay. Let's move on to a slightly more difficult one. This guy's a pyramid, isn't he? What do we know about pyramids? We just wrote notes on it. It's 1/3 of the area of base times the height, right? Well, so the volume is area of base times the height divided by 3. Oh, my pen stopped working. Let's see what happens if I turn this off and I turn it back on. My pen still doesn't work. What a piece of garbage. Fortunately, I keep a spare pen just in case, because Microsoft Surfaces suck. It does not work either. Spectacular. All right, so we're going to divide by 3. Everybody agree? Okay. So what would you say is the base of this pyramid? It's a shape that it starts from. It starts from that square, right? What is the area of a square? Length times width. So it's 32 times 32, because that's the bottom. And then what is the height? It's the direction that the shape repeats, yes? So what is it in this question? 67? No, that's the slant height. What's the height? Remember, how do you measure your height as a person? Do you measure it up the side of your body? 65. And then what do I do with that number? Divide it by 3. And what is it? I can't do that in my head. I could, but it would take longer than it will take you guys to punch it in. 66560. Is that your phone number? This is a math class. How do you say that number?
66,560.
Perfect. 66,560. What? Feet what? Cubed. Why cubed? 3 dimensions. Everybody understand? So now we've done a pyramid, we've done a prism, we should be good now. Is a cone a pyramid or a prism? Pyramid. So if it's a pyramid, the volume of a cone is going to be the area of the base, just like a prism, times what? Height. But because it's a pyramid, what do I got to do? Divide by 3. Well, what's the base of a cone? Right. Pi r squared h. Area of base times the height divided by 3. So we know the area of the base is pi. What is the r here? Read the question. 15 pi r squared. What's the h? 22. And all that's divided by 3. Agreed? Now remember, we're in the 10th grade. We're going into the 11th grade. Are we going to make pi 3.14? No. Are we going to make pi a bunch of crazy decimals? No. What are we going to do with it? We're going to leave it as pi. What is 15 squared? You may not have that memorized, so where do you have to go? 225. What's 225 times 22? 4,950 pi over what? 3. Does that 3 affect the pi or just the 4,950? Just the number. What is 4,950 divided by pi? Or divided by 3? 1,650. What? Pi. Then what? Centimeters cubed. Real life or math class answer? Math class answer. We all know how to find the real life answer if we want it, yes? 1650 times pi. Everybody cool? So now we've done a pyramid, we've done a prism, we've done a circular pyramid, which is a cone. What's the only thing left to do? A circular prism, which is a cylinder. And what's the very next question? A cylinder. Prism or pyramid? Prism, because the circle repeats. So since it's a prism, it's just area of base times the height. The base is what shape? Circle. What's the area of a circle? Pi r squared times h. What's the r here? Look again. 5 pi times 5 squared. What's the height? 20. What's 5 squared? 25. What's 25 times 20? No, go to your calculator. What's 25 times 2? 50. And then add a 0. 500. 500 pi. Math class answer or real life answer? Math class answer. Everybody good? Everybody could do this with one shape right now, yes? All right, now listen to me. I'm going to do one more thing, then I'm going to let you go back to work for a little while. Turn the page over. I want you to tell me the volume of everything on page 213. But wait, I'm going to show you how. By showing you what to do on page 212. Do not write down what I'm about to do. I just want you to pay attention. You're going to get lots of practice with it in a minute, okay? Just watch. And I'm going to erase all this stuff from surface area. It's already recorded. You've seen it. Is this a prism? Yes or no? Yes. Why do you think it's a prism? I'm not saying if you're right or wrong. I just want to know why you think that's a prism. There's parallel sides. If I color this side blue, does that shape repeat? It repeats in what direction? Backwards, right? I know what you mean, Kovir. That way, right? It repeats right here, correct? Which means if this shape repeats in one straight direction, it makes this blue shape the base, doesn't it? Because that base repeats, agreed? And if that's the base, what do we call the direction that it repeats? The height. Now, since it's a prism, isn't the volume of every single prism area of base times the height? Okay. So how could I find the area of this blue part? What would you do? Again, you don't have to write it down. Just think. What would you do to find the area that is shaded in blue? Somebody give me an idea. None of you see a way to tell me this area. 30 brains. Nobody can come up with one. Talk to your neighbor for a second. Use 2 brains. Come up with one. What would you do, Suk? I think you do. What should they do, Madeline?
You get the side of the rectangle and add it to the side of the square.
You would find this and add it to this, right? Okay, how do I find that red rectangle? 12 times 4. How would you find that green rectangle? 4 times 4. And what would you do with those two numbers? So that's 48 plus 16, which equals 66. Agreed? That's the area of the base. Does everybody see why and understand why? Okay, where's the height? Why is it 4? Because that is the direction it repeats. So this would be 66 times 4, which is 264. 60 times 4 is 240. 4 times 6, 24. 264. Everybody cool? All right, now I'm not going to do the next 3 for you. I'm going to get you to do them. But I will help you out with the first step of the first one. Is that a prism? Yes or no? It is. Okay. What repeats? Does that repeat? No, because the one at the back isn't the same size. Does that repeat? No, because this one over here is diagonal. It's not that. Okay. Does that repeat? Yeah, because what's the same? If that's the top, the bottom's the same. So does that make this the base? And what direction does it repeat? Straight down. So there is the height. So if I can find the area of the base, I can find the height. Everybody cool? You try page 213 for volume. If you don't have enough room to work, maybe you want to get your own piece of paper and just write volume right there. By pencil writing, I just won't be talking. Yes, go. How many cans you get? How many cans of paint? Exactly. Well done. Till 12:05, 11:30.
Does the height have to be a straight line? It can't be like this.
Okay, that's the base. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Where does that shape show up again?
Like over here.
Right. It shows up again back here, correct?
Yeah.
So that means that shape repeats in that direction. It shows up here. So that is your height. Yes. Seven more minutes, and then we'll go over the paint question, and then I'll let you get back to some volumes. That should be enough time to do both. And then we'll move on to spheres. Yeah, that's the top part. So you found that rectangle. And then what you do with that that shape, because that was on top, hard to make with my fingers, but it's going down 3 times. Because it repeats going that way, so that makes that the height. Good? Good? What's the base? What's the shape that repeats? Right, this whole shape, right? Because it repeats again. Right there, right? That's correct. Now, this shape repeats over here. What direction do we go to get to? That 15. So what's the base right here? How do you find that area? What's the height? The direction it repeats. Right? 2 more minutes, then we talk about the paint question. Because a bunch of you will have done the paint question poorly. Of course. What? Okay. I don't understand why you would let me do everything when I said it 7 times if you were okay. That's cool. Okay. All right. So. How big is that? What's that? What's that area? 12. Excellent. Agreed? Okay. Now, let's pretend that this is 3-dimensional. And it is 1 centimeter here. Cool. So this is 12. And it's 1 centimeter thick. So this volume is 12 centimeters cubed. Because this 12 has gone back by 1. Agreed? Okay. So all of you understand that, right? Then you understand this. Trust me. Because now, I'm not going to only go back 1. I'm going to go back 5. So when I went back 1, it was 12 times 1, right? So now what is this one? This is another 1, right? So 12 and 12 and 12 and 12, and it is 60. Because the area that repeats, the base, shows up again at the back, doesn't it? And it went that direction. So that makes this the base and that the height. So I do 12 times the height. Because the volume of every single prism is area of base times the height. And the height is the direction that the base repeats. Okay, I'm going to fill my water bottle, then I'm coming back and we are going over the paint question. If you have not done it, you will want to be looking at it. The other class is half a block ahead of us. Yes, they're half a block ahead of us. I don't really care, I'm just joking. But it was funny. There's the paint question. The first way, I converted everything to feet. And then I did the math. Now, some of you will say, why didn't you ever do 13 times 17? Because that's the ceiling or the floor. The walls are 13.5 is one wall. The other wall is 17.4, but they're both 9.8 tall. So there's that wall and this wall. And because we live in the real world, not on television, once you have that number, you have to multiply by 2. So you ended up with 605 feet. 1 gallon of paint covers 300 feet. 600 divided by 300 is a little bit more than 2. Since the paint is sold by the gallon, I have to buy 3 cans. Or my wall would be painted like this. And Mrs. Myers would not be happy if I left a corner. Okay. The other way you could have done this question is right here. You could get everything in square meters, 56, and convert it to feet. 56 divided by 0.3048 squared, because we are squaring the feet, so we must square the meters, which got us 607 square feet, slightly different, because we're rounding differently. Divided by 300 still gets us 2.02, still gets us 3 cans. Cool? What if I told you I was painting 2 coats? How many cans of paint would I need? 6 cans. Everybody good? All right. Are we ready to talk about the first volume question? This one? I've helped a few people with it. What is the shape that repeats? That shape shows up again at the bottom, doesn't it? Right? So that makes this shape the base, because that's the shape that repeats. Since the volume of every single prism is area of the base times the height, and the height is the direction it repeats, this is super easy, because the area of the base is this blue triangle plus this green rectangle. The triangle we know is 4 by 3 divided by 2, which is 12, right? Because it's 4 by 3 divided by 2. So it's 12 divided by 2, which is 6 for the blue rectangle, blue triangle. What's the green rectangle? Well, the green rectangle is 3 by 8, which is 24. Now, if they were separate, then they were done. But they're not separate, are they? Because they are all one shape. So what do I do with those two numbers? Add them to get what? So 30 is the area of the base. Now, every volume of every prism is area of base times the height. Height is the direction it repeats. What direction does that shape go? Straight down. Which number tells me how far down it went? 3. So 30 times 3, because that's the height, gets me 90. 90 watts. Centimeters cubed. Everybody good? Mark your own work. Make sure you're doing it right. This is all recorded, so you don't have to worry too much. What shape here repeats? All you got to do is visualize. Doesn't that shape show up again right there? That shouldn't have disappeared. Whatever. That shape showed up again. Whatever. Piece of crap. Quality. That shape showed up again there, which makes this shape the base. So how do I find that area? Well, that shape is made up of that rectangle, which is how big? 8 by 2. Plus that triangle, which is how big? Isn't it half a square? 5 by 5 divided by 2, which is 12.5. So what is the area of the base? 8 times 2 plus 12.5. What's the area of the base? He waited patiently for people to do 16 plus 12.5. 28.5. So if that's the area of the base, what's the height? The direction it repeats. What direction did it go? That way. How far? 15. 28.5 times 15 equals whatever the answer is. 285 and 125 is 310, 410, and 7.5, something like 417.5-ish, I don't know. 427.5? Son of a bee. All right. So now all of you are well equipped to deal with this one. Where's the base? Where's the shape that repeats? The front side. Does this shape, let's choose a fun color. Oh, I haven't done anything orange. That shape repeats again. Where? Right there. Right? So we know the base. The base is the orange shape. That orange shape is that plus that, isn't it? How big is this side? How long is this?
6 by 4.
This is 6.
No, 11.
This is 11. How long is this? 4. So how big is this? 44. How big is this?
11.
How big is this? So how big is this? To get a total of what?
66.
What direction does it repeat? That way. How far back? 6. So the answer is 360. 60 times 6 is 360. 6 times 6 is 36. 396. Yeah? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Find the side that repeats. That's the base. Whatever direction it goes, that's the height. There's one concept here. Doesn't matter what shape I have for a base, it's going to be the same. Let me show you what I mean. What shape is that? That's an octagon, right? If I draw another octagon out here, this is the base, right? Where's the height? Right here. There's my height. An octagon is just 8 triangles. So if I know one of these triangles, what will I do? Multiply it by what? So if I know this red triangle, I need 8 of them. And then what will I multiply it by? This is 14. What will I multiply that by? 14. Doesn't matter what shape the base is. If you can figure it out, you just multiply it by the height. Does height always go up and down? What direction does height go? Away from the base. Is the base always the bottom? Can the base be the side? Can the base be the top? If that's all you can see, like here, all we could see was the top, right? So that becomes the base because that's the shape that it starts from. Stop thinking of base as being the bottom. Start thinking of base as being from where you start. Everybody cool? And I'll give you another example of that that's even easier. Back when you were learning this stuff and somebody gave you a triangle, they told you that was the base and that was the height, right? Base on the bottom. But your teacher should have given you a couple of questions like this. So that up there became the base. Right? The base is where you start from. Everybody cool? No matter how you turn it. All right. People need a little bit more time with either of the volumes or the surface area of the paint. You want to keep trying it. You've seen the right answer. Because we are in the middle of block 3. We should be doing volume conversions right now. But you already know how to do them. Because you already know how to do area conversions. So you should have no trouble with volume conversions. We have 5 minutes left in class. Is everybody cool? How do you think you do a volume conversion? For area, when I went feet squared to meters squared, I had to do, I should do it the other way around. If I go feet to meters, I got to go feet times 0.3048 over 1 foot, right? Right? What if it's feet squared? It's going to be 0.3048 what? Squared, right? Okay, that's area. Well, what if it's volume? It's going to be 3048 what? Cubed. Easy peasy, right? What if we were in another universe with more dimensions? You just keep that pattern going. Everybody with me? So remember, 1 foot equals 0.3048 meters. 1 foot squared equals 0.3048 squared, which we now know is 0.0929, right? 1 foot cubed would equal 0.3048 cubed, which would be 0.0283. Everybody with me? You just got a cube instead of doing it by 1 squared or cubed. And that's the whole lesson for volume conversions, if you ever had to do that. The only time you would have to do that is, for example, if you were filling up a tank, like in the States, your gas tank was liter or gallons, right? We have liters. Picking up what I'm putting down? Reading my mail, mowing my lawn? Excellent. Break is in exactly 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes to work on whatever you wish to work on. Find those right answers. Make sure you get what's going on, because we are going to do the volume of spheres and hemispheres after the break. You're going to get a little bit more work. Then you're having a quiz. Okay? All right. Do what you will.